What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here for Your Overwatch. Back again with another Git Good guide where we review your guys' submitted gameplay. If you're interested in submitting, there's two ways to go about doing it. There's our open email where you can upload a loss to YouTube where you thought you played well and submit it to youroverwatchplays@gmail.com. We get a lot of submissions, so it takes a while, but I do try to respond to many of these, but it can take me a while and I can't respond to them all. So if you want guaranteed feedback, the other way to submit is by becoming a Your Overwatch supporter by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button, and that'll gain you access to our supporter only community tab posts, as well as a direct line of communication to me to get direct replies on your gameplay. Even if I don't use it for a video, we'll review it and get you going in the right direction. Now in today's video, we're going to break down the gameplay of our bronze hero, Joseph Kent. In this gameplay, Joe is trying his best to carry the team. You might argue that maximizing a shield pick here as Sigma would get more done than Roadhog, but Hog is a low rank beater if you can perform all of his clutch plays. And if you do so, he has the potential to carry the whole lobby. The first step to that is one of the most common problems players below plat have, and that is failing to survive in spots where you need to. And here we'll break down a couple examples of that. This early Streets phase team fight looks like it's really promising for us. We're getting in the mix of things, we're winning the fight, but the core mistake here is failing to realize a couple things. There's sort of spatial reasoning going on where, because you don't have a mini-map in Overwatch, you have to keep in mind where your teammates are, where the enemies are, and how to navigate around that in order to flow with the team fight without catching yourself out. But there's also the larger macro risk taking of going this deep, and that is to ask the question, do we even need to kill these players now? Like, is it even worth it for us to step into their side of the map to go take these fights? And we'll break down both aspects of this. So first and foremost, the thing we have to remember is that when the payload is this early on Streets phase, the enemies have a closer spawn distance than us. That means anytime we take too many losses holding close at Streets, we're going to be opening up opportunities for the next wave of respawns of the enemy coming through to be stronger, especially being the self-sufficient matchmaking carry tank like Roadhog. We really want to protect our life as long as we can and lurk around the map, keeping our uptime high so that we can just get as many hooks out to convert on kills as we can throughout the course of the map. So once we start getting kills and the enemy's in a regroup phase, we don't even necessarily have to go finish them because they need to come to the cart. We're defending. Finishing them is good because then they can't charge ults and you stagger them even further, but you have to be aware that it's a risk, that their death means less to them than yours does to you and your team. And especially in solo queue, just dying at any point hands over your ability to carry the game, so just keep that in mind. But as well, in the mix of this, it's really our reads of our teammates, or rather lack thereof, as well as movement that is the core mistake here. As we're zeroing in to finish this Mercy with Whole Hog, we have to remember that this is the ability that makes us instantly die. Everybody knows to focus Hog while doing his ultimate, so because of that, we really need to make sure that we're hugging cover and being away from damage. Stepping in too close to the Mercy opens up our face to get farmed by the soldier, and instead of using cover to standing on the outside, dodging away from him in line of sight of our team, we instead step towards him, which forces us to go for a clutch hook. Now, if our hero's aim was better, maybe they land this hook, kill that guy, and makes it look like, well, come on, Frito, get off his back. He was setting up for the big clutch play, but I think the safer option is to just regen a little bit to set up a more favorable fight for yourself. Because we go down here, when our team dies to this Riptire, yes, you might say, well, that next team fight was a loss anyway, but what carrying in ranked actually means is finding the little edges that snowball advantages. If you were alive during the time when your team died to the Riptire, if you're off on a flank or pushing the enemy or not dying to the Riptire because your name's Roadhog and you have a take a breather ability, perhaps you can go get a kill that would reinforce your next respawn. It's exactly the thing I explained for the offense, but this time, as the cart gets closer to your spawn, any kill you get as sort of an exit kill in a lost team fight will reinforce your next wave of respawns. This similar problem comes up again for our hero as we're fighting off in the side room, committing resources, and the enemy begins to chase us. They do step off the cart for a moment here, but for the most part, any time that the cart is going to keep moving uncontested and you can't win the team fight, and it's unlikely that you're going to thin out the attacking side. I mean, even if you get a kill here, their respawns are still closer at this point. So kills matter less to you at this point. The problem with this is, whether we kill anybody in this room or not, the cart is still moving uncontested. So all we're doing is staggering out our death. And I assure you, this goes for every tank in the game. If you just learn when to die at the right time so that you can respawn at the right time, so that you can contest the cart at the right time, you'll put your health points and durability to contest the objective to work and really control the pace of the game. When everything else is going wrong, especially at the low ranks, I guarantee you, just doing this will stabilize the team and make a big difference. So that's the big Gamesense section of this. All this respawn stuff might feel kind of boring because, hey, this is a shooter game. I just want to work on shooting the enemy. But if you queue for tank, know that really, the percentage of the game that you carry as a player is the pace of the team fights, the respawn race, and where to establish the main fights. You're able to choose that because you have the resources to do so. But of course, there is always room to improve mechanically, so we are going to go down in explaining how our Roadhog hero can improve his lethality. And we are able to get some kills this game, but we certainly don't get all the ones we could. And the problem with playing a character like Roadhog, you really have to convert on hooks like this one here on our first attack. This keeps happening to us where we hook in a skinny target, we do the shoot melee combo, and they still don't die. Whose fault is this? Is it the team's fault for not shooting the hooked target? Partially. You can tell them, focus the thing I hook. That can help, but really we have to take it on our own responsibility to figure out why this isn't getting converted into a kill. Partially, it's because the enemy has been running both Sigma and Diva, who are some of the strongest characters at denying hooks to begin with. So already our hero is going to struggle a bit just on paper. But with playstyle, the thing that we always have to remember about Roadhog hook is that it isn't good enough to pull them in. You need the proper setup to get the kill and the proper follow-up to confirm it. So there's a few things our hero could improve on. One, anytime you hook a target in, turn. There's about a 45-degree turn you're allowed to make to reposition the target, so utilize that to pull them closer to the team and farther away from their team. This is only going to amount to a meter or two of distance, but trust me, it does add up, and even if it doesn't come into effect every time, at the very least, you're turning your head hitbox away from the enemy team, making you harder to shoot, and eventually it will pan out for you. It's just a good habit to get into. Next, with Roadhog, you always want to step into your target. Reason being, Hog's primary fire doesn't actually do that much. You're probably surprised to know it only does 150 total if all the pellets hit. That means you can't afford to miss pellets, and you need some of them to get into the head in order to confirm kills on targets with skinny hitboxes or more than 200 health. This especially goes for Reaper. So mathematically speaking, one-shot killing the Reaper before he starts life-stealing off your face is difficult to do, but it is possible, and it requires you to set up the kill more cleanly. So after noticing that you're struggling with finishing kills on characters like Soldier and Reaper, it can be helpful to set up a private match where you practice on those exact hitboxes. Make use of the custom game settings to work for you. Keep in mind, you can't spawn in AI bots for deathmatch modes. You will have to put it on control, but everything else you can change as long as it's not core to what you're trying to practice. So for example, here I put down Soldier and Reaper's damage done to me, put up my overall health, as well as put all our cooldowns down, because really I just want to get reps in on setting up the post-hook follow-up. These are just practice dummies for me to manipulate and get a feel of how I'm even supposed to follow up on this hook. The thing you're going to notice is that the one thing you can never do against these targets is not to move after you hook and then just try to shoot them. Too many of your pellets are going to miss. They won't be close enough to all land, and it'll be too hard to get some in the head without a bunch missing. So you really need to step in every time. Hold W down, and we'll need to jam our crosshair into the ideal hitbox. This is going to change for every character. Certain ones can be troublesome, but remember, enemies' head hitboxes are a bit more lenient than you think. So although I advise not to aim too high because you want it to all hit, you have to skew slightly upwards, but hopefully close enough so many land in the head. That's how you can get the magical one-shot kills even on a Reaper, but most of the time you will need the melee follow-up. The problem our hero Joe was having is that many of his hooks he wasn't setting up for them to land as close as possible. The mechanics of this are pretty wonky, and it just takes time and practice to intuit the way a target is going to land. They've reworked this many times, and for all I know, they'll rework it again. But the important thing to remember about this is that it's more movement and control and how you set up the pull, because where you're standing as they come in matters. On every map and staircase and slight incline, decline is going to affect this all differently, but for the most consistent results, you want to be standing on a flat surface, pull, and be willing to take a very small couple frames to allow Hog to step in before you shoot. If you shoot immediately as soon as they get hooked without doing this, some of your pellets are going to be at that unfortunate range where they can miss. Now, this might feel a little scary because you know Reaper's going to want to shoot you in the face and start lifestealing immediately, but remember, your goal is to set up the perfect money shot, where you hopefully can get around 220-ish damage, where a portion of that spread gets into the head, and then with the follow-up melee immediately. You want to melee immediately, but you may not want to shoot immediately if the target isn't framed perfectly. Now, that's on targets where you absolutely need the one-shot kill, like Reaper with his lifesteal, but the other thing that you can practice is going for follow-up shots on targets that are close to you. As much as shooting a shotgun with a big fat spread might feel pretty easy, it is harder than you think. Because movement in Overwatch is so fast and jittery, having the aim speed to track a target with spread weapons like D.Va, Reaper, and Roadhog, who need to be really close up, can be a bit challenging and is in its own type of difficulty. So if you find yourself struggling with this kind of thing yourself, what you'll want to do is try to replicate practice on these specific areas. There's just setting up the hook and the movement of all of that. You can cheese this in deathmatch if you really want to anger people, but playing quick play where you can more freely experiment and try to play wackier, a mode like Total Mayhem can be really good as well because the cooldowns are reduced and it just lets you continuously grind mechanics with little consequence. Playing against bots is okay. It's not going to help your aim as much, but setting up the follow-up shots and just learning how the hitboxes work is what I'd suggest for that. But the other thing you can do is try to play other heroes in the other modes I mentioned that are harder than Roadhog, but practice this specific type of skill. If you go into those practice game modes and try playing Tracer, for example, and really try to get in on your opponent's face to maximize her spread, the aim style at least will feel kind of similar to Roadhog. If that's too difficult, maybe try D.Va, who's similar as well. Or the last thing I'd suggest is going to aim hero and try honing some speed aim, because that's really what this is. Targets up close move faster than they do at medium range because of the screen real estate they take up on your screen. They move just the same speed, right? But the relationship of your cone of vision is much more drastic the closer they are, which will require you to have higher speed. This is why partially characters that require long range accuracy typically have lower sensitivity, whereas characters that need to turn quickly and or fight up close typically need higher sensitivity. Roadhog's odd because he kind of mixes the two, right? Where the hook itself is a medium range skill shot where you want to be accurate with, but sneaking it in sometimes, as well as chasing follow-up when you have to hit that second spread shot to finish the kill, does require some speed. So those are some things to consider with your sensitivity and how you operate your aim. But with all of that, I think combining those two things together, getting the mechanics of your fragging ability down a bit more, as well as having the overhead map and the respawn tug-of-war battle in your head more, will get you alive and active during the most crucial times of the game. Those two added together, you're definitely going to escape bronze. And I would say if you master those two, you'd be on your way to plat. So good luck, Joe. I hope this video was helpful. And as well to all the viewers who have watched us break down Joe's gameplay, I hope you learned something as well. And if you did and found the video useful, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell icon so that you actually get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter. We tweet out news updates and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.